Thank you for joining me again, and thank you to everyone else for joining us for our second instalment of Mothers Meeting for the Marriage, Motherhood, Ministry and Me page and podcast. I really hope that you enjoyed last episode about marriage, and I hope you will get something out of this episode about motherhood. So there was 2 points that I wanted to talk about, Mom, initially, which was going from being your own person, just your own single person, to becoming a mother and having children who are dependent on you, basically. And then go into what it's like being a mother of multiple children under the age of 5, or just multiple children in general, because we've both kind of mirrored each other there. You had 3 under 5, I had 3 under 5. So being a mum of multiples is a whole other conversation. But this morning when we spoke on the phone, we did have a conversation that came up about the experience of childbirth, I guess. The experiences that we've kind of heard of within our own family. And there's a narrative at the moment, and I guess a reality for a lot of people, that women, and particularly women, Black women or women from ethnic minority groups, have a very different experience on a major, on a wider scale to women, or white women, or other women from different backgrounds, I guess. So I don't know how much you think or feel that is actually the case, but I guess, what was your experience?
For a first-time mum, I think my experience was okay. It was scary, because I suppose in terms of having your first child, you're not sure what to expect. There's going to be a lot of pain. And I think the experience allowed me to gauge my other births.
Yeah.
Because I think when I was pregnant with yourself, Dion, I was fully aware that I didn't want epidural. I wanted to have as much a natural childbirth as possible. And I think when the pain did really hit, I decided to have pethidine, which is supposed to sort of help you to cope with the pain. And I think for me, it sort of made me sleep in between the contractions. So I would wake up when the contractions happened and go back to sleep. But although that did happen to me, I think my childbirth was from the labour. From contractions to having you was, I think it was a fairly long time. I think it was 8 hours or more. Can't remember exactly.
8.
Yeah, something like that.
The first one. That's nice.
Yeah, well, it weren't too bad. But I suppose for me, the experience. Oh yeah, and I did have gas and air as well. But I think the experience made me feel that I wasn't controlling my own body.
Yeah.
Because the midwives were telling me what to do, and as I say, I would sleep in between the contractions, and I felt I couldn't control my own pain. And I'm the sort of person that to control, my body basically. I like to control my own body. So I had the pethidine, and even though I had the pethidine, I had side effects later on. After I had you, I remember having pains in my legs for years. I remember collapsing twice on the floor, which never happened to me before.
Okay.
So I decided, for my other children, I wasn't going to have anything at all. I'd have gas and air, and that's it. Yeah. Because although the pain, the contraction started again and the pain happened again, it's sort of you sort of relive the first one. But saying that, I was able to control it because mentally I could, I knew the pain was coming. I could sort of gauge how long it would last, and so I could control it mentally. And I found childbirth a lot easier because I could control the reaction of my own body. So I didn't have nothing. I had Corinne after yourself, and then Ezra, and then Vanessa. So, and I think the childbirth got easier. That's what it does naturally anyway. In terms of once you've had one child, it sort of gets easier. But in terms of other Black women who have had bad experiences, I've heard of so many, and I think it's a lot to do with racism as well, unfortunately. So I don't think when we go into hospitals that we're cared for in the same way as other groups.
But what is that though? Like, do you think that doctors and nurses in hospitals, just on a general basis, because obviously it's not every single healthcare worker, but do you think it's just part of the culture that they don't even realise that that's the eyes that they're looking at Black women in? You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't necessarily say that all the healthcare workers, you know, they see a Black woman and then they go into racist mode. But so why is there?
I think a lot of it, as I say, is systematic. It's built in, and a lot of people don't realise that they're doing it.
I think there's a ingrained expectation that we will just be compliant and polite. So if we come with something that challenges, and the thing is, I do feel that, you know, Black women are naturally quite passionate. A lot of us are.
And very expressive.
But it doesn't mean that we're disrespectful. But I think the minute we come with a challenge, regardless if it's, you know, nice and, you know, unseasoned or heavily seasoned, it doesn't matter what what it is. But I do think that because some of the stories that I've heard from family and friends, in terms of their birthing experience, they've had to be firm, I guess, with the healthcare professionals about what they want, and not just necessarily Black women. I've got a friend, she's Cypriot, same thing with her. She had to say what she wanted, and I have to say, I mean, obviously people have the right to choose whatever type of labour and delivery that they have, whatever's best for their mental health, their physical health. But I have found from the testimonies of others, and compared to my blessed experience, I was very blessed to have the experiences that I had, that a consultant-led care versus midwife-led care is very different, because I think they're more keen to give you medications, they're more keen to induce you, all these different interventions. Whereas with the midwife-led, they understand that your body's designed for it, so they just monitor your body and then make a decision or guide you based on what your body is doing. And when I've heard about family members and friends who have put their, particularly for their first babies, when they've put their trust completely in the hands of the consultants, it's literally like a game of tennis, badminton, backwards and forwards, induce me, take it off, induce me, take it off, emergency C-section this. I think one of my friends had a really horrible comment because she was adamant that she wanted a natural birth for her second baby, because she had such a hard time with her first baby. And somebody said, you're not going to get a medal, you know, if you have a natural birth. So it's almost like, why are you pushing for this way of doing it? Like, just, you know, just take the drugs or just go for C-section the first time or whatever it was. And I thought to myself, what makes it, why did she think that it was okay to say that?
Exactly.
Why would you dismiss a woman's preference or in terms of what's going to be best for her health? Just, I don't know why they would do that, because something you said earlier, which I found with my birth, is fact. Once you get into a good mental place, headspace, it really does affect the I can't think of a good better word, but the quality of your labour. When you feel completely out of control, I just feel like it's a madness, because the pain is so overwhelming. You don't really know what to do. I find it good to kind of take it one contraction at a time. And I can get through this contraction. I can get through this contraction. And then once I got through that contraction, I had your little break. I didn't have many breaks, but little break. And then you just concentrate on the next contraction, because that mentally helps you get through. If you just, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Definitely. I think when you, at the end of the day, you've got to get to know your own body. And when you know your own body, you know your limitations, you know your threshold. Granted, there are some women who will need intervention, but sometimes they will let you know when they need that intervention because they know their body isn't responding the way that they know it should respond. There was another thing on TV this week where this young girl, I think she was 23, she was pregnant, and she went into labour, and the hospital kept on sending her back home, said, no, it's not time yet, you're only 1 centimetre dilated, blah, blah, blah. But she knew there was something wrong, but they would not listen to her. And in the end, she died.
Oh, God.
Because at the end of the day, when you know your body, you know your limitations, you know when you need intervention. So at the end of the day, doctors, midwives have to listen to you, the person who's having the child.
I agree.
But for most cases, for most Black women who have the bad experience in hospitals, it's because the medical staff are not listening to them. Because I've heard so many stories where women have said they've gone to labour, they're laying on the bed, you know, the midwife or the doctor might come every so often to do, you know, to test this or whatever else. But then someone left for long periods and they'll say, no, I need this, can you help me? And they've been ignored because the midwife or whoever thinks, oh, well, I'm the professional, I'll tell you what you need or what you need. So, you know, so for me, medical staff and midwives have to listen to the patients, have to listen to the woman having the child, because at the end of the day, it's your body, you know your body, and you know how far you can go. And if it's not happening, if things aren't happening right, you know, thinking, well, something isn't right here. I need help, I need some help, or I need, you know, someone to tell me what it is or whatever else. But for most of them, the bad experience is because they're not listened to.
Yeah, and I think regardless of whether they try to trivialize or dismissive or whatever what you say, I think the message is to just be adamant, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
And there is a way to communicate. I'm not saying scream down the place and cuss the living daylights out. No, you're in a lot of pain, so it wouldn't surprise me if some people did that. However, there is a way to communicate even in that extreme situation, but just don't waver, I think is the point. Don't waver.
Definitely.
You need something, or you know you want something a certain way. Don't waver.
Yeah, and I think it's harder even during COVID and lockdown, because you know, in terms of the number of people you can have come visit you or stay with you, you know, it's just your partner, or if that. And I think it's good to have somebody there who can also advocate on your behalf. If you know, being there on your own just with medical staff isn't good. You need somebody that you know you can trust, who can support you. And if you can't advocate by yourself, you've got somebody there who can fight for you or speak up for you.
100%. I agree. But like I said, I mean, we are, you know, biologically designed to do this. So unless there's kind of some major, abnormality or circumstance whereby you need intervention, I would personally advocate for most women to trust their bodies and try and do it
definitely
through how we were designed to do it, because the recovery is better, the attachment to your baby as well can be better. Like I said, every woman should be able to choose for themselves, but I'm very much like, you know, God designed us this way for a reason, and if you can do it, do it and stand, like I said, be vocal for what you need. I was lucky. I had with Eden, I had you in the room, Liam's mum in the room, Liam in the room, you in the room. Corinne was waiting outside in the.
You had everybody in that
room. Yeah, so you were all able to take, take shifts of sleep and support me and whatever.
Yeah, although the majority of us did fall asleep.
100. At one point, you just me midwife. Let's be honest, me midwife in the pool. But I have to say, I've been very fortunate to have 3 good births. A shout out to Cosham Hospital midwife-led unit. Absolutely awesome, amazing.
They are. They're lovely. They didn't want you to leave, did they?
I know. Oh God, especially with the mama. Jesus, she wanted me to stay a whole extra.
Oh no. Stay.
Yeah, no, they're exceptional there. And so then bringing Eden home for the first time and becoming a mom. I have to say, I mean, I'm lucky that I come from a big family, the Lewises. Yara, Vanessa was 10 years younger than, like, born 10 years after I was. So I felt like I was quite involved in kind of helping look after her and stuff.
It was.
So I did have a sense of how to care for young children based off of our family kind of dynamic. But what I wasn't expecting was the emotional difficulties, particularly at the beginning with Eden, because she didn't sleep through the night. Like, the sleep deprivation was really bad with Eden, and trying to adjust. But at the same time, there was something deep in me that kind of knew that I could do it. It was just very difficult. And then I also struggled with let's put it, constructive criticisms and guidances from other mothers and family who probably, I think it's partly projection. They're probably trying to do things, they're trying to kind of validate their own motherhood and so tell you what to do. I think maybe there's an expectation because I was young that I didn't know what I was doing. I found that very difficult, trying to figure out my way of parenting whilst feeling like, or being made to feel like I was not competent to figure it out or to do it. I felt like with you were supportive. I don't think you was like intrusive like that. But I did find that hard. I mean, I don't know, how did you cope emotionally with the change and the hormonal change and all of that stuff?
I think for me, it was, I think as women, some women are natural mothers, and I know for me, I've always loved children. I know at one stage I wanted to have a nursery anyway, so looking after children or having my own children, I think the motherhood just developed naturally. I don't remember having people or others sort of forcing how I should bring up my children. I didn't have it then. Okay. So for me it was fine. I think the only thing I remember just observing how my older generation brought us up. And I then started to use some of those things that I've seen and I've learned on my own children. But then I realized it didn't work. It's not good. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. Because I remember, like smacking and discipline. I remember you was only probably about 1 or something like that. And I remember smacking you for something. I said, don't do that, don't do that. And it's only because that was what we were used to. Yeah. And it was only afterwards, thinking, well, she was only young. She didn't really understand. So why was I smacking her for? But as I say, I knew I did it based on what I knew and what I learned. So realistically, although people do mean well, you've got to allow mothers to nurture that motherhood themselves. Because at the end of the day, they know themselves and they get to know their child. They know, they get to know, why their child cries, if it's for milk, if it's for, changing nappy, whatever. So really, you need to allow the mother to know their own child, just like they get to know their own body. They get to know that this new beautiful creature that's coming to the world. So, and you can give guidance in terms of, it could be, we didn't try bright water or stuff like that. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Ask questions rather than be like, you should. You need to do that, and that look of judgment. Hating. Oh yeah. There's something that you hate, Dee. It finishes me up. It really does. I think, like you said, I don't know. I don't think people are necessarily even thinking about you when they say this stuff. So they don't necessarily mean it to hurt you. No. I think they've got a good intention. But that's just calm down. I'm just like, I fix myself.
Well, I have to ask the question: how, like, they were you given the option to learn your own kids? What makes you think you know my child better than I know my child? Like, I don't understand that.
Definitely. I think you have to give mothers the space to know their own child, and because at the end of the day, that's how God created us. We're naturally mothers. We've got that trait and whatever else. So you should really allow someone who has a child to do that. Granted, there's some mothers, it's daunting. It's the first time. There's postnatal depression. There's all that. So they need the intervention or the support to get them through that.
Yeah.
So I do understand that. So it's not that you should back off totally. I think you should. Every case is different, but at the end of the day, God has created us to be mothers.
Yeah. I think it's the approach. I think because, like you said, becoming a mom for the first time anyway is daunting, regardless of whether there's something innate in us. Like, we're learning on the job. Like you said, like I said before, there's the whole sleep deprivation. There's your hormonal changes. I remember Eden was a week old, and Mother Edmund had died and Granddad had died. And I remember
all that to do as well.
Yeah, exactly. So when I remember going down to Granddad's funeral and the reception, and I felt like I was doing okay. But then Eden, I think me, you, and Corinne were in the car, and Eden just wouldn't stop crying, and that was it then. Like, it was just like the floodgates just broke. And it was highly, highly emotional. So I do, like you said, to have the support is necessary, but the key word, I think, is support. I don't know whether people thought that because I was crying or because I was tired that I couldn't look after Eden. I don't know, but I think people need to be sensitive.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess to mothers.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But as you said, at the time, your granddad had passed away. Mother Edmund had passed away. You just had a baby, because because it was the 1st of February when both died, and then on the 6th of February you had a child.
Exactly.
So it's like you had a lot to deal with, and that was your first child. So
yeah, it was a lot. But one thing that's not shocked me, but it's become really kind of strong, I guess, in my mind though, for me now, is how much of my own life is I feel like it's on hold, probably because of the way I parent, I guess. Like, every single thought, every single choice I do, I think about before I do it is about the kids. How does it affect the kids? Like, even coming down to buying my own clothes, or do I buy myself this £25 thing when I could save that or use that for the kids? Socializing, when we were socialized.
You sound just like how I felt when I had my three children. I felt guilty buying anything for myself. And I remember going into town to buy myself a skirt and hiding it in the wardrobe, because I didn't want your dad to see it, thinking, and I felt good, thinking, why, I should have bought this, because I've got 3 children and the house needs this, and we got bills, so you feel guilty. So one day I woke up thinking, am I stupid? Wake up and thinking, just slap myself, thinking, why are you feeling guilty? At the end of the day, if you need something, and I think I was working as well, thinking, why am I feeling guilty? I should treat myself. And I think when I woke up to that reality, I think I became a better mother. Because at the end of the day, it's looking at, it's a holistic approach, isn't it, really? Because yes, as mothers, you will make sacrifices for your children. Because I know I made the sacrifice to say, well, I wanted to look after my children myself. And I didn't do nurseries or anything like that. Oh yes, I had your grandparents, because they were just down the road, cared for you, the odd days and whatever else. But I think I didn't work full time until all of you were at school.
Okay.
That's when I decided to work full time. But up until now, I probably did like the odd job or part time or whatever else. But so yeah, so I think for me it's a good thing to look after your children. Not to say that you shouldn't go, kids shouldn't go to nursery. Each to their own. And sometimes that social interaction is good for the child as well.
Yeah.
Particularly if it could be the odd days and gives you a break as well. And it will give you a break as well. So I would prefer the majority of the time, whether it's 70 or 80% of the time, I know I've instilled whatever in my child,
in your kid,
rather than society doing it. So I think that nurturing and that relationship that children have with their mother or parents, they'll remember until the dying day. Because I remember even like in my childhood growing up, I remember my dad taking me to the fun fair or taking me to Blackpool. My dad used to work, your granddad Drummers used to work on the railways.
Yeah.
So he had free passes to take us up and down the country. And because he did that, he loved us that much. He would, even in the morning, he'd before he goes to work, he would wake up, do us toast and tea, bring it up to our bedroom and leave it for us, and then go off to work. Yeah. And I think, at the end of the day, children remember little things like that. And although, things might happen along the way, because of the good memories you have, you can forgive any, faults that they might have, because you remember the good days. Yeah. So for me, that's important for children to remember that, mom and dad took me to the park, or they took me there, they did this with me, they did that. We had good holidays and whatever else. It's happy memories that they will instill. I mean, I've heard so many children talk about, well, my mom never hugged me, you never did this, you never did that. Children do, and they remember the bad times as well. But if you can have something that's meaningful and loving, children will carry that through, and it builds their character as well.
100%. No, I do agree. I have to say, for me, I do. Do I struggle? My struggle is not necessarily in having those moments, but my struggle is motivating myself, I guess, to do those things, because I feel like I feel like I don't really make any choices for me. The little 5 minutes I have for me time or whatever, which is probably usually just doing nothing. There can be that guilt there, I guess. But how do you find the balance? Because like I said, someone asked me a question about me. What do you like to do? What have you done in the last whatever? And what's your favorite this? And I couldn't answer the question, because at one point I don't see me anymore. I feel like I'm just a mom.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, you're in it, aren't you? You're doing it now. And I know for me, when I was in it, in that moment where looking after 3 children on the age of 5, being responsible for every living area, it was hard. And I know, and then yourself, you thought I was the evil witch of the West or something, because I struggled.
That's an understatement, Maureen. Well, Jesus. You had a weaponry, not a pantry, a weaponry.
So when you're in it, it was hard. But now that's okay, you're grown, you've all grown, and I've come out the other side. I look back, and yes, I would have probably done things a little bit differently, but I have no regrets, because I've come to realize that sometimes some of the sacrifices you have to make, some of the pains you experience, help you to be a better person, and you can even support somebody else. So, and it's not a bad thing, because at the end of the day, life isn't about being in a bed of roses for the rest of your life. There's ups, there's downs, there's peaks, there's troughs, there's disappointment, there's all sorts, and I think it's all part of the journey that you take. So I won't look at this as a bad thing, because at the end of the day, it's only for a season. You've got 3 young children under 5 and under. Amara's only 4 or 5 months old.
Yeah, nearly 6 months.
Exactly. It's early days. Just think. If you need to, look ahead and think. Well, okay, because of your sacrifice, your children are can turn out into beautiful roles or whatever else, because because at the end of the day, children need your time and energy. There's no getting away from it. They need it. They're not they're not independent beings where they can just do their own thing. Yes, you need to take time out for you. That's important as well. And there's ways you can do that. Just sit down with hubby or family members and say, well, okay, today I'm gonna have a spa day just for me, or whatever it is, or by myself, go out shopping or whatever else.
I mean, friend or something.
Yeah. So and I think those times will come and can come. But at the end of the day, women have to make sacrifice. Women do make sacrifice. It's not just for the children, it's for the family.
I think I'm not trying to be judgmental of any other person's parenting style, but I do find that parents who sacrifice reap in the long run.
Yeah,
I struggle to watch parents who try to maintain their singlehood whilst having children.
Exactly.
That I struggle with that. I think some people think that they can have a child, that having the child will look and feel as glamorous as the snapshot pictures that they take on Instagram, and that they can still balance having the same level of independence and social independence they had before they had kids. And I feel like that can be highly detrimental to the children if it's to an extreme level, especially like we've seen, like some people like just expect that their parents are going to look after the kids every whim, so that they can go and do the stuff that they were doing before they got. I'm just like, honestly, if you're not ready to give up your singleness,
don't have children.
Don't have kids.
Totally agree. Don't have
children. Self-esteem.
I think we got at the end of the day, we have to be responsible mothers. God's given us the ability to have children, and with that comes responsibilities. And if you're going to ignore those responsibilities for your lifestyle, it's not good. It's not good for the child. And I feel sorry for them in terms of that connection and relationship they should have with their mother. And I don't know, I just see because I don't know, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I think for some the child is just a commodity, just like a handbag
or a checklist, because there's this thing, especially like with females my age and stuff, because we're conditioned to believe that there's a timeline for things, and if things haven't happened by a certain timeline, sometimes we take measures into our own hands. Some people are still waiting for the relationship, or still waiting for the child, and if it hasn't happened by a certain time, they're like, oh well, some people will make it happen. And I think sometimes the wait can be quite anxiety provoking for some people.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, and then as I said, as women, for a lot of us, natural mother, God's created us to be mothers. We have motherly traits, etc. So, I mean, I do understand why some women longed for children who perhaps, haven't been in a relationship or whatever. And I'm sure it's hard for them. So I'm not really going to make a comment on them, because then if you're longing for children and haven't had children, it can be quite devastating to you.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, I wouldn't comment on that, because I know I'm glad. I've been blessed with 4 children, and I thank God for the 4 children. As I say, it was hard bringing you all up, for various reasons, having very little money and etc.
Yeah,
the things that impact marriages anyway. But looking back, I thank God He gave me all of you at the time He did. I mean, I got married at the age of 21. Had a baby at 22, then 23.
Yes.
And I think these days, a lot of people say, well, God, he was young then. But that was then, because I think, back in my day, it wasn't about career and sky's the limit. it was like you grow up, have your education, you get a job, you get married. It was just that sort of pattern. But as I say, I'm glad I had you all, and you've all grown up, and I'm old enough to enjoy my life.
Well, that's what I'm looking forward to. Not that I'm wishing this part of the journey away, but I'm looking forward to having a second wind, because I do feel like I feel invisible a lot of the time.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, just a little thing.
Yeah.
But don't feel guilty. It's just a season you're going through.
Yes, season, and it'll come and go, and then I'll look back and I'll wish that I kind of made more probably of the time that I had when I was smaller. But how do you think having kids impacted the marriage, and having multiples? How did that impact? 3 under 5 is my God.
Yeah, I think it did. I think I was saying to somebody the other day that I remember people used to say, "Oh, I'm not having children, because it's expensive and stuff like that." And that was before I used to hear all this before, I got married and had my own children. And I'm thinking, what do you mean they're expensive? And then, but I understood what people meant after I had children, because at the end of the day, when you do have kids, within your marriage, it does impact on the finances, because in society, it takes 2 to even maintain a mortgage, a home, blah blah blah. So when you as the mother has a child, the income's reduced. You've got to buy nappies, you've got to buy this, you've got to buy that, you've got to buy baby food, and it's not cheap.
You've got to do stuff with them.
Exactly,
it's not always cheap either.
Yeah, so it does impact on the marriage, but I think it's something that the 2 people have to come together and see how they're going to see it through, basically. Because at the end of the day, children over money, might have my children any day.
Yeah, but I guess there's the time wealth thing as well, because when it's just you 2, you've got all the time, and you've got more disposable income to do stuff together. Yeah. But when you become parents, and particularly as a mother in the beginning stages, when they're a lot younger, your attention has to be on them. Yeah. So you almost have to factor in time for each other. Yeah, you can't factor in time for the kids because they're your dependents, so they have to kind of come first. So then there's that whole finding the balance where you're not neglecting each other. And finding time to still communicate, finding the energy to still want to do activities together and all of this other stuff.
That's important, because at the end of the day, you can't have the children without your husband. He's a father of your children, and in terms of a family unit, you have to be doing things together. Showing each other love still.
I don't think we found it that easy though, because it's such a big culture shock. Yeah,
definitely.
It's almost like a lot of things were probably said and unsaid, that were kind of misunderstood, I guess. Yeah, and us trying to adjust to being parents, let alone just being a married couple and being parents.
Exactly. And as a female, when you have the child, as you say, your focus is that child, nurturing that child, make sure it's safe and well, it's fed, etc. And a lot of times, for a lot of men, it's quite daunting, because they might feel invisible, because your attention is mainly on the child. Yeah. But it's good in any relationship that the father becomes involved in, the nappy changing, so it's a partnership between the 2 of you who cares for that child.
And I think, go on, you go.
No, I'll just say, and even though the man will feel visible, I think it's just something, that will happen in most cases. But it's, as again, for me, it's for a season.
Yeah.
I think babies grow up quite fast.
Yeah, I think some fathers do, even though it's daunting, are excited and want to be hands-on. And some find it daunting and just don't know what to do. As well, I think it's important. I suppose we're both learning on the job, regardless of our instincts. We're both still learning on the job, and I think it's important to make. I suppose maybe it's a bonding moment for you both, to kind as the mother, I guess, who tends to be the lead carer, the lead carer, to kind of make your partner feel like they're making positive contribution. Like, you know what I was talking about before, when, like, say, other mothers would kind of make these suggestions or kind of give me this kind of weird look or whatever. I think it's important for us not to do that to the dads as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, making them feel like they don't know what they're doing or they're not doing it right. Because I think guys as well, they're like, oh, right, cool, I don't know what I'm doing, you do it then. And then you're complaining that they don't do it.
Right, exactly.
But you've made them feel like they can't do anything.
Yes, it's all a learning. It's all learning, and you're both on a journey. You know, because for a lot of people, they think, okay, we get married, it's happy ever after, and that's it. You know, even for me, marriage is another chapter with a different journey that you have to take. You know, there'll be areas that you're going to walk together that you've never walked before, but you both have to learn together and still love each other.
Yeah, you got to be patient and supportive of each other.
Definitely.
100%. Though I have to say, having multiple children is a lot.
It's a lot, but it's rewarding. Just think they'll all grow
because
together.
You're out on the other end though, so you can say that now.
I know. They all grow together, they'll love each other, they'll support each other, and then they'll be out of the way, and then guys will live for yourself.
Out of the way, that is hilarious. That is hilarious. Because obviously you had, all right, so I was born, then Kareem was born.
Year later, under a year later.
Yeah, she's 11 months and 3 weeks younger than me. We are the same age for a whole week. Then Ezron came, so literally we're 86, 87, 88.
Yeah.
And then Vanessa's 96. Yeah, so like the closeness in age is, I do see the benefits of it.
So in terms of like you being part of all that, how do you see your relationship with your siblings then? Because you're all born quite close together.
Okay, well, so what I like looking at with my kids is that Eden and Yara have each other. Even if I have to spend a bit more time with Amara, they've got each other. I do see, especially with lockdown, it's been traumatic, but it's been a blessing for their relationship, because they will never not have a friend. They will always have a friend. But one thing that I'm looking at with them now in comparison to me and Corinne is that I see similarities in their personalities with me and Corinne. Eden's quite independent. She can just get on with things. Yara also picks and chooses when she wants to be independent and get on with her own thing, but she wants everything that Eden wants. So if Eden's playing with something, they can't have two of the same thing. Yara has to have the one that is in Eden's hand. So what I'm trying to teach them, so that we don't replicate some of the conflicts that I feel me and Corinne had because we were so close in age, is that they can be together and be their own people. That Eden, you have to incorporate your sister, you have to share, you have to look after her, but also that Yara, you can leave Eden alone sometimes. You can do this, come and do this with mommy, and me and Yara have our time together, so she's not so dependent on having to be with Eden all the time or do what Eden's doing, or do you know what I mean? So there's a sense of we can come together and we can be apart and we're secure in doing both. Because I think I was way too extreme with Corinne in wanting to have my independence and break away from that, wearing the same clothes but in different colours, being the same age for a week and whatever. I really wanted to kind of be my own person, but Corinne wanted that
sisterly bond,
the sister friend relationship. But I found that quite smothering. So I think I needed to be way more balanced with Corinne and be a lot more sensitive to her needs. But at the time, I didn't think about that at all. I just kind of felt suffocated. Let me be, kind of thing. But I think the way I communicated that to Korean really impacted our relationship for many years. So I suppose I've learned a lot of lessons from that, and how I want to try and raise my kids. So but yeah, 3, I found that going from 1 child to 2 was harder than going from 2 to 3 though.
Okay.
I don't know why that is. But I think the adjustment from 1 to 2 was like, but then going from 2 to 3, maybe it's because the older 2 can play. Yeah. So it doesn't feel as.
So you found it easier, did you say? You found it easier? The
adjustment wasn't as big.
Okay.
If you know what I mean. Adding a third one into the mix. It's still hard. But
yeah, well, saying that, I suppose it's like when I had when I got pregnant with Vanessa, you know, a 4th child. Although it was, oh God, I'm pregnant again.
Yes, I know. Even we were like, flip me, Maureen.
So, and you know, after, I think when I started to enjoy the pregnancy, everything was different. I don't know. I just loved. You know, it was nice. It was just nice. And I think Vanessa's probably come out a better person as a result of me being happy within myself, carrying her, and even after she came out. You know,
well, she's the favourite, isn't she?
Well, she's my baby, isn't she?
I remember when Ezra used to be the favourite.
I know.
Vanessa came along and was out the window.
It's the only boy, so we've got to spoil him still.
We didn't have to do anything in the house. I remember.
We did a little bit. We did a little bit. Okay,
your memory is very different to mine.
Well, he's got his own place now. He's got to do it all. So
that's true. But what I have to say, what I do like about Vanessa, I think she's got the best bit slip of all of us.
Yeah, true.
She's quite measured.
Yeah, she is. I think she used to stand there and thinking, why are them not getting beaten? So I'm not going down that
I'm not doing that. Let me do the complete opposite. Well, it works.
Yeah.
It works. One thing I will say before because I like that conversation. Hats off to single parents, because single parents are multiples.
It's true. They're going to do it all themselves.
You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about, you know, the sacrifices that we make as mothers. Yeah. We're talking from an experience of having a partner there, at least being, you know, in the situation, whether they were there or not there, if you know what I mean. But the single parents and having to co-parent, that is a whole different conversation that maybe I'll have to get someone else on to talk about, because it's hard enough when there's 2 people. Yeah. So when you're the only one or the main carer, it's a lot of work, man. But
you know, the reward is there. The reward is there.
Yeah,
babies and children are a blessing. So
they
always look after them.
Yeah, they definitely are. Wouldn't change it. Wouldn't change it in the long run.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you, Maureen, for another unscripted, hopefully banter-filled conversation.
No problem. Enjoyed it.
Yes, no, it's been nice. It's always nice to catch up with you, Maud. So next episode is going to be about ministry. I don't know how long that was going to take.
All right then.
So yeah, we'll discuss ministry, being a woman in ministry, being women married to men in ministry. Next episode. So yes, everybody tune in and look forward to it. And yeah, see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.